Okay, so in this class mainly we will talk about the significant figures, and we will have a glimpse about the error analysis. Like we know, if we are measuring any quantity, so if we are doing any kind of measurement, those measurement will also have some error included in that. So for example, if I measure the length of a pen, and if I come and report to you the value of the length that I have measured is 10.1 centimeter. So there may be some error in this, that may be due to the fault of the instruments. Like I am talking about that instrument using which I am doing the measurement. So there may be fault in that instrument, or even there may be an observational error. So there are various types of errors that we will discuss more in detail, but this was just a glimpse that if we are doing a measurement, that will also include an error, and it is our duty to bring the final result in terms of the measured value and the error. So let us say I denote error with E. So let's say one time I measure the length of the pen and I come and report as 10.1. Other time I come and report as 10 centimeter. Next time I come and report as 10.2 centimeter, let's say 9.1 centimeter or 9.9 centimeter. So in all these three cases, if you see, these are three different values, but if I am representing the value to you as 10 plus minus zero point 0.1, then this makes a sense. It has a complete set of all the three values, and this is the way using which we can actually present the result. Just a simple example. So let us say the actual value is, let's say, 10 centimeter, then that is also included in this. So our measured value should include whatever we have actually measured, and then the error in that measurement. This is the error in measurement. So let us say, in short, I measured the value as m. So we have to present in terms of m plus minus e the result. So this we will look at the later stage, but first let us understand what is significant figures. So first I will just write few examples, and then from that we can remember these examples to get complete idea about the number of significant figures. So let's say I write as 1, 2, 3, another number 1, 2, 3, 0, and then 1, 2, 3.0, and then 1, 2, 3, 0.0, and then 1, 2, 3.01. So if you observe A part, I will say the number of significant figure is 3. In B part, number of significant figure here is also 3. C part, the number of significant figure here is 4. D part, the number of significant figure in this case is 5, and in E part it is also 5. In all these cases, what we can conclude, that significant figure is including the digits in, we can say, the non-zero digits. It's also including the digit 0, but if that 0 is between two non-zero digits, between two non-zero digits. This is the only rule to understand the concept of significant figures. Like you can see here, this 0 is not included between two non-zero. There is just one non-zero and there is no digit here. So that's why the number of significant figure is only 3. So basically those significant figure should be either a non-zero digit, or if it is 0, then it should be between two non-zero digits. Okay, let us now understand the operations that we perform based on the significant figures. So we can either add or subtract two quantities. This operation we can perform, or we can multiply or divide two numbers. So let us say I wish to add 2.3 with 1.47, let's say. Then in this case, if I add, the real value is going to be 3.77. But how I will present this result? We have to remember that in addition or subtraction, when we are doing, the final result should only contain the number of digits after the decimal which is less. So here you can see 1 digit, so after decimal 2 digit, so it will contain only 1 digit. So I can write this as 3.8. So you can see here I am also including the rounding of the values. So for rounding off, we have a very simple concept that the value which we are going to exclude, if it is greater than or equal to 5, then we increment the value before it by 1, else we leave it as it is. So for example, you can say 3.18. If I want to round it off, I will leave it as 3.1 only up to 1 decimal place. So this result, the final result for this added value is going to be this, only if I take significant figures into consideration. This example, if we see, the number which we are going to round it off, that will become 2 here, not 3.1, because the number after this is greater than or equal to 5. Yes, but if I have 3 point, let's say 13, then I can say its value up to 1 decimal place is going to be 3.1. So let us see the multiplication or division part. So if we are about to multiply, let's say 2.3 and 1.12, so this will come out to be 1 point, yes, so this will come out to be 2.576. So what should be our final result? Here we need to consider the numbers having the least significant figures. So there are two significant figures. So I have to present here up to 1 decimal place only, because 1 place is already occupied before decimals. So it should be 2 point. See, I have to omit the numbers after 5. So it is greater than 5. So it will be 2.6 will be the answer in this case. So I'll write that simple rules, that in case of multiplication or division, what we are going to check, the final answer contains digits as minimum number of significant figures in either of the numbers that we have taken into consideration. And in addition or subtraction, what we need to look, we need to present the final result in terms of values having those many digits after the decimals. So those many digits after decimals which is contained in, or which is having minimum numbers in either of them. Like here you can see there is 1 digit after decimal, here there is 2 digits decimal after decimal. So answer should contain only 1 digit after the. Okay, so a very simple question, this one we will do, and we will take into consideration the significant figures. We will keep that in mind. Okay, so you can do this quickly. Calculate the density of an object. Okay, dimensions are given to us, length, width and height. Mass is given. We have to just present the final result. So of course we are going to use the limit grams per cubic centimeter. So whether you keep it in grams per cubic centimeter or kg per cubic meter, the number of significant figures will be same. So density we know, that is mass by volume. So I will use 632.2 divided by, for volume I will do length into width into height. Okay, let's calculate this. So we multiply 2.63 times the given width 1.36 and the given height 1.57. So we get 5.615576. So now the final result, it's going to contain how many significant figures? 4 significant figures. So remember, sometimes what mistake we do, we look into this value and we put it as 5.61, which is not right. So we have to initially take complete significant figures. So if you divide now 6.632.2 divided by 5.615576, we will get 112.579724680. But finally it should contain only 4 significant figures. That means here the number is greater than 5. So I will increase this by 1, and yes, the answer comes out to be 112.6 grams per cubic centimeter. So this result is based on only these two values, but we have to look at these values as well. So you can see the number of significant figures even at the basic level, that is the least in length, width and height. So we will take 3 significant figures. So I will present this answer as 113 grams per cubic centimeter, and this will be our final result. So now we will move towards error analysis. So we are going to explicitly look into the errors that is included in every measurement, we will say included in every measurement. So we have already seen what could be the reason for the errors. There could be fault in the instrument. There could be fault in the instrument, or there could be zero error. Now what is zero error? We will see this. There could be observational error. That means we may commit errors. So zero error, what it is, because faulty instrument, observational errors, that's quite understandable. Zero error means it is the error that is shown by the instrument. So let us suppose I have a scale for measurement and the scaling value starts from, let's say, 5, and this is 6 millimeter, or let's say centimeter, 6 centimeter, and then 7 centimeter, and then 8 centimeter, and then 9. So let us say this is the scale I have, and if I want to measure a length of this much, then I will not say that the length is 1 and 2 centimeter, right? So in this case, first of all, it is greater than 2 centimeter, so it does not have a marking. That is one error we can see, one error we can observe in the result we would have produced. Next, the concept of zero error is that looking at its length, I cannot say that if its final point lies at 7, I cannot say that its length is 7 centimeter, because there is a zero error here. Zero error means the pre-error, or the error which is coming at the point we are using the instrument. We can say zero error. This is the error occurring when instrument's first value, you can say first value to be read, is not 0. Here you can see the first value to be read is 5, so I can say there is some zero error here. So what this instrument has recorded, 7 centimeter, but what you should do, you should subtract the first marking here. Okay, so observe, you subtracted and you brought the correct result. Let us say similarly I have another instrument whose reading starts from -2. Now if I put that same value here, can I say its length to be 0? Of course not. So what I will do, 0 centimeter which this instrument has recorded, I will subtract the initial value, right? Here also I subtracted. So minus of -2, that means it will be +2 centimeter. So what we are observing, the zero error, this 5 is zero error here, -2 is the zero error here. So what we are doing with the zero error, we are actually subtracting the zero error. So you can see in this case we are subtracting the zero error. In this case we can say we are plus minus minus plus, we are adding the zero errors. So basically if I have a recorded value and to that recorded value if I add or subtract a zero value of the instrument, then I'll get more accurate value, right? So this concept of zero error has to be understood clearly. And let us see how we analyze the quantity. So let us say I have measured resistance of a resistor. We know resistance of a resistor is measured in terms of ohm. So let us say some value I measured, it came out to be 12 ohm. But this is not the correct way to produce the result if I am talking about the experiment. So how I should present the result? 12 plus minus, I should include the error in the measurement. So that will be, let us say, zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.2 depending on calculation. So with respect to the question, we should be able to comprehend what value we are going to put in terms of the more accurate presentable result. So before looking at the examples and understand better, let us remember the two rules. These are the important rules. One, if I want to add two quantities, add or subtract, again this follows same rule. So if I want to add or subtract, let's say two resistors, if I want to add or subtract, one is having 12 plus minus zero point 0.1 ohm, why it should be centimeter, it should be ohm, and then another resistor, this is R1, and another resistor having resistance 5 plus minus zero point 0.2 ohm. Now if I want to find the total resistance in series, so what I will do, I will of course add them. So if I add them, remember we add these values first and then these values, so it will become 17 plus minus as it is, so just add them, so 0.3. So this will be the resistance in series. So you can even verify this. Verification is very simple. Let us say you have a quantity x, you are writing it as x plus minus, let's say delta x. Why I am calling this as delta x? Because this is very small as compared to the value. Y is equal to y plus minus delta y. So if I add this x and y, that can be seen as x plus minus delta x plus y plus minus delta y. So how will I add the four quantities? Let us put these together and plus minus together, delta x plus delta y. So let us see the final thing, then we will see the question. Let us say now I want to multiply or divide the two values. So let us say I want to find the value of R1 by R2. So here one thing we can write it down, that when we add two quantities, so when we add two or more quantities, what we have seen, their errors are added up. Errors are added up. And in the next case, when we multiply or divide, first we will remember what we are going to do. Their absolute error, or we can say absolute relative error. So let's just remember their relative error gets added up. Now, what is this relative error? As the name suggests, relative error means error with respect to the value. So let us say here I am writing it as any value, I am writing it as 5 plus minus 0.1. So what is the error? This is the error. So it will be the relative error in this case will be the errored value with respect to the measured value 5. So this will be our relative error. That means you must always remember that how we are going to present the result. If x is a quantity and we found x plus minus delta x, then what is relative error in x? That is error delta x by the measured value x. So let us take an example to understand multiplication and division. So for example, same resistance I will take 12 plus minus 0.1 and then 5 plus minus 0.2, right? 5 plus minus 0.2 ohm. Okay, this was R1, this was R2. So I want to find the total resistance or equivalent resistance in parallel. So I will use the expression for this. What expression we are going to use for parallel? We know the expression Rp as R1 into R2 divided by R1 plus R2. So you can check why I am writing this R1 plus R2 as Rs, because it is better to visualize the complete expression based on addition or multiplication, but either addition or subtraction or multiplication or division. So here you can see it is containing division, multiplication and then addition, which is making our process quite complex, because we only have rule for these two and that also separate rules. So for that purpose I have already found resistance in series. What we found the resistance in series as 17 plus minus 0.3. So this I can use it as a separate quantity. So I'll use R1, I'll use R2 and I'll use R3. Now we have got the expression Rp is R1 into R2 by Rs. So what we know, in case of division or multiplication, their relative errors are added up. Relative errors are added. So relative error in P, that is delta Rp by Rp, is equal to their relative errors should be added up. That is relative error in 1 plus relative error in 2 plus relative error in Rs. So let us first find out the value of Rp. So Rp will be R1 R2 by Rs. So this is R1, right? Because we write R1 as R1 plus minus delta R1. So 12 times R2, that is 5, divided by Rs, that is 17. So we get Rp as 60 by 17. So we will keep this value 60 by 17. And from here we will find out delta Rp, because if we are finding resistance in parallel, so how we should find the result? Rp plus minus delta Rp. So this we have already determined. Let us determine this one, delta Rp. So I will write delta Rp by, instead of Rp I will put the value here, 60 by 17 is equal to, now just put these values based on here. So delta R1 by R1, that is 0.1 by 12 and then 0.2 by 5 and then 0.3 by 17. So from here we can easily compute delta Rp. So if you just add them, so let me quickly use the calculator. You calculate this manually. So 0.2 by 5 and then I will add to it 0.3 by 17 and I'll multiply to this whole as 60 by 17, because this 60 by 17 is divided here. So I am getting 0.0634. So what should be our final result? Our answer should be that the value of Rp is 60 by 17 plus minus, let's take it up to 2 decimal place, so 0.06 ohm. So this is our final result for the resistance in parallel, using by taking into consideration the errors. So now we will see the common types of errors. So we have three types of error. One, gross error. Then we have systematic error. And then we have random errors. So we are not going to focus on gross errors, but we will mainly explore all the errors due to instrument and by the randomness, or you can say the carelessness. So systematic errors, these are of three types. Further, one, instrumental errors, there could be fault in the instrument, and then there could be observational errors that falls under systematic errors, and then there could be environmental errors, right? So these phrase itself are able to explain what we actually mean by each one of them. Random errors, you can say we are not sure about the condition and we are not basically sure about the cause of the errors. Gross means the total error. So to understand more better about the gross errors, you can say these are the mistakes which makes the measurement very far from accepted value or from known value, right? So you can see this does not play much role, but we are only going to focus on these things in the practicals, not even in the numericals what we are discussing. So based on errors, it's only good to remember that what happens to the errors while we add or subtract two quantities and what happens to it when we multiply or divide two quantities. Okay, so let us discuss now the types of errors based on the numerical things we are going to use. So the types of errors. So first comes is the mean error. We also call it as average error. So average error means, let us suppose you take a reading of any, let us say you are measuring the resistance of a resistor. So you take as 5 plus minus 0.1 or 7 plus minus 0.2 and then 3 plus minus 0.05. So you have taken 4-5 readings, and what you do, you take the average of the errors to get the best estimate of the error, right? So here we take the average to get the better result. Like one measurement I get 10, another measurement I get 12, so I will say my measurement is 11, right? That will be more better to produce result, the mean value. So average error, you just add the average errors. So let's say this is delta A1, this is delta A2, so delta A3, and then delta A4, and then divide by the number of observations. Next is absolute error, and then we have number 3, relative error. So relative error we have already discussed. What is relative error? Error with respect to its value. So absolute error, let us discuss that. It is basically the amount of error, you can say, in the measurement. So it is the difference between measured value and true value. Because what is error? I can say error is the difference between measured value and true value. True value means, let's say the length of pen is 10, but I measured it to be 9.8. So what will be the error? 0.2. That will be the error. Error is always positive. That is a different thing. We add plus and minus before error. Okay. Coming to absolute error. What is absolute error in this case? First, to find absolute error, we just take the difference of the measured value and the true value in each case, take the difference of measured value and true value in each case, and then we divide this by the number of observations. So let's look at an example to find out the absolute error. So let us say there is a quantity, there is a pen, and I measured the length of pen as 10 centimeters. This is measured value, and true value of this pen is 9.9 centimeter. So what is the absolute error? Remember, the keyword absolute means the positive value. So absolute error will be, just take the difference, bring the positive result. So 0.1, right? That's the only thing we need to know till the errors. Rest all things we will continue in the next class.